Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sonia, and I'm going to be the host for the evening. I welcome all of you on behalf of UDYAMITA Helpline. We will be starting the session most probably by 4. And I see participants joining us. Our host for the evening has also joined. Welcome.
Hello everyone. Good evening.
We're just waiting for a few more participants to join, and by 4, we'll start the session.
Okay, sure.
Before we start the session, I would like to regret to inform you that due to some unforeseen circumstances, Sumanji is not available to conduct the session herself today. But since we are committed as per the plan, we are proceeding with uh, another host today on behalf of Sumanji. She's Miss Anam Fatima. I would like to welcome her on behalf of the UDYAMITA team and all the participants present here today. Just to introduce Anamji also has an 6 years experience as a company secretary, and she's been working in BCSES as a full-time company secretary, and she holds the position of a senior associate as a DS corporate expert, which is a leading firm in the industry. So today, unfortunately, Sumanji is not there. So we have Anamji. So I also would like to request all the participants, since you were committed for Suman Arora ji, and whatever question answers you have for her, kindly put it in the chat box, and we promise to revert back to all of you within 24 hours. Probably there will be a few question answers which Anamji would not be attending to. So we will be avoiding the question answer round today. And I would request each one of you to kindly put your queries, questions, anything one-to-one you want to have with Sumanji, since she's not available today. So she will be answering herself, and we'll get back to you with all the answers of your questions answered by her. That's a promise, because we really regret because of some unavoidable circumstances she couldn't make it because of her poor health. I think we are all good to start. Anamji?
Yes, sure. All the participants are active here?
Yeah, most of them, and a few will be joining in a while or so. I think it's already 4 o'clock, so we can start.
Thank you for my brief introductions and thank you so much.
Thank you
So
for
I'm sharing the screen. So here we are presenting how the company taken a public issue through the small and medium enterprises. So we are start that the company is always want to investing their money and want to take their money from the outsiders, from the investors and from the big investors and stockholders. And there is a reason that the companies always want to invest and also want to start the initial public offer so that the company is growth and increase their financial strength and wants to be debt free. That is the reason that company comes into the public issue and wants to raise the money from the public. So there is we are just a presentation on a public issue of small and medium enterprises. That is the reason how are the small and medium enterprises taking their public issue. First of all, we need to see that the big of the companies like Zomato type of companies are coming with their initial public offer, but its IPO was failed. And there is a very big reason that the Zomato couldn't complete all the regulatory compliances because there is a lots of compliances and lots of acts are to be complied. That is with the SEBI regulations, LODR regulations, and the companies laws and the other many kind of regulations are to be applied. But the Zomato has been failed because the company couldn't comply all the compliances. In the scenario, the SEBI has taken a step that the small and medium enterprises also wants to raise their funds from the public. and growth in their funding. So the small and medium enterprises, these kinds of enterprises are very small. So these are the listed on a MSME. We all are aware that MSME, the small and medium enterprises who are to be listed, who are to be registered on the MSME, can also take a SME. It means that they can also.
Alamji,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you in between. I would just request, there are few participants who would also like to hear in Hindi. So if you can just mix Hindi, English, like
Yes,
kind of a
actually,
thing.
ma'am,
So it will be.
yes, but I just only मैंने मुझे लगा कि there is to be the some are the मतलब South Indians भी हैं.
Yeah,
मुझे
yeah, yeah. There are few people who understand only English, but we also have some that who want to use little Hindi as well in it.
Hindi and English, I can understand. Okay,
Thank you,
मैम मैं
ma'am.
यस मैम बिल्कुल बिल्कुल जो इजली लैंग्वेज रहेगी मैं उसी में बात करूंगी बिल्कुल. तो बेसिकली क्या होता है, जो छोटी इंटरप्राइजेस होती हैं जैसे कि एमएसएमई में वो रजिस्टर्ड करती हैं, तो उनको होता है कि हम भी अपनी फंडिंग को ग्रोथ करें, हम भी अपनी फंडिंग रेस करें. क्योंकि जो बड़ी इंटरप्राइजेस होती हैं वो तो अपना पब्लिक ऑफर लेकर आ जाती हैं, बट जो स्मॉल एंड मीडियम इंटरप्राइजेस होती हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं बैकवर्ड रह जाती हैं और वो मार्केट में ग्रोथ नहीं कर पाती या डेवलप नहीं कर पाती. दैट इज द रीजन कि उनके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने या सेबी ने एक छोटा सा एक इनोवेटिव वर्क किया उनके लिए कि वो स्मॉल एंड मीडियम इंटरप्राइजेस जो होती हैं वो भी अपना पब्लिक इशू लेकर आ सकती हैं. तो बेसिकली हम यही बात करेंगे इस पे कि स्मॉल एंड मीडियम इंटरप्राइजेस कैसे अपना पब्लिक इशू लेके आते हैं. जैसे कि हम ये देख सकते हैं कि एसएमई एक्सचेंज में जो कंपनीज जिनकी पोस्ट इशू पेड अप कैपिटल इक्वल टू और लेस देन 10 करोड़ है, मतलब कि जो कंपनी जैसे कि जो स्मॉल मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेस हम उन्हें बेसिकली हम उन्हें कहेंगे जिनकी पोस्ट पे इशू पेड अप कैपिटल 10 करोड़ या उससे कम है, तो हम ये मानते हैं कि वो एक स्मॉल कंपनी है. वो अपना एसएमई में एक्सचेंज लेके आ सकती है, वो अपना स्मॉल मीडियम एक्सचेंज के थ्रू अपनी कंपनीज को रजिस्टर्ड कर सकती है और उसमें अपने पब्लिक शेयर्स दे सकती है, जिसमें कंपनी अपने शेयर्स देती है. और सेम एज some are say as we are know only English. और कुछ ऐसी कैपिटल होती हैं जिनकी 10 to 25 करोड़ के बीच में होती है, तो वो भी एसएमई एक्सचेंज लेके आ सकती हैं. अब अपने आप को लिस्टेड कैसे कराती हैं, तो पहले क्या होता है कि वॉलंटरी होता है लिस्टिंग ऑन एसएमई एक्सचेंज. वॉलंटरी जैसे किसी कंपनी को या स्मॉल मीडियम इंटरप्राइजेस को अपना फंड रेज करना है, तो वो लिस्टिंग कर सकती है एसएमई एक्सचेंज पे, जो कि वॉलंटरी है. वॉलंटरी सिंपली मींस दैट कि कंपनी खुद से अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट करना चाहती है, तो ये सिंपली हो गया कि लिस्टिंग ऑन एसएमई एक्सचेंज. फिर उसके बाद वो माइग्रेशन कराती है अपना मेन बोर्ड पर विद प्रायर अप्रूवल ऑफ एक्सचेंज, यानी कि अगर उसको अभी तो वो स्मॉल मीडियम इंटरप्राइजेस पे थी, अब वो अपने आप को मेन बोर्ड पर रजिस्टर्ड कराना चाहती है, जब बीएससी एनएससी पे या कॉमोडिटी एक्सचेंज पे अपने आप को रजिस्टर्ड कराना चाहती है, तो वो अपने आप को इसमें माइग्रेट कर सकती है, लेकिन उसके लिए हमें प्रायर अप्रूवल लेनी पड़ेगी. तो ये एक ग्रोथ अपॉर्चुनिटी होती है इंटरप्रेनर्स के लिए, जिससे कि वो अपना रेस कर सकते हैं इक्विटी कैपिटल को. अगर हम अपनी कंपनी देखो, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यही होता है कि अगर कंपनी अपना फंड रेज करना चाहती है एसएमई के थ्रू या स्मॉल मीडियम एक्सचेंज के थ्रू अपना करना चाहती है, तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट यही है कि वो बीएससी पे लिस्ट हो रही है या एनएससी पे हो रही है. बीएससी मींस दैट बीएससी एंड एनएससी पे जो लिस्ट हो रही है, सबसे पहले कंपनी को इनकॉर्पोरेट होना चाहिए कंपनीज एक्ट 1956 के अकॉर्डिंग या कंपनीज एक्ट 2013 के अकॉर्डिंग. तो सबसे पहले ये है कि कंपनी जो है इनकॉर्पोरेट हो. अगर वो अपना फंड लेकर आना चाहती है एसएमई के थ्रू, तो बेसिकली सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट यही है कि वो अपने आप को रजिस्टर्ड कराए, एज ए इनकॉर्पोरेशन कराए कंपनी. उसमें क्या होना चाहिए, अगर वो बीएससी पे अपने आप को लिस्ट कराना चाहती है, वो चाहती है कि उसके जो शेयर्स हैं, जो उसका रिकॉग्नाइज्ड स्टॉक एक्सचेंज है, वो बीएससी बने, तो उसके लिए उसकी मिनिमम कैपिटल 3 करोड़ होनी चाहिए और फेस वैल्यू 25 करोड़। और इन एनएससी में क्या है, उसकी मिनिमम की कोई रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है। अगर आपकी मिनिमम कैपिटल 1 करोड़ भी है, दैट इट इज आल्सो इनफ, और मैक्सिमम इज ₹25 करोड़। आप अपने एसएमई को अपना स्टॉक एक्सचेंज पर लिस्ट करा सकते हो, अपना एसएमई लेके आ सकते हो, जिससे आपकी पब्लिक फंडिंग करेगी, पब्लिक आपकी इन्वेस्टमेंट करेगी कंपनी में। आपका टेंजिबल नेट वर्थ मिनिमम 3 करोड़ होना चाहिए। अगर आप बीएससी पे लिस्ट करा रहे हैं, टेंजिबल नेट वर्थ में आप फिक्स एसेट्स इंक्लूड नहीं करेंगे। एनएससी है तो उसमें कोई रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है। सेम एज द नेट टेंजिबल एसेट्स, अगर आपकी प्रॉफिट ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड, अगर आपका डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेबल नेट प्रॉफिट 2 आउट ऑफ 3 फाइनेंशियल ईयर और नेट वर्थ मिनिमम ₹5 करोड़ है, आपका प्रॉफिट इतना होना चाहिए, कम से कम 5 करोड़ आपकी नेट वर्थ होनी चाहिए, तो आप बीएससी पे अपना एसएमई लेके आ सकते हैं। और अगर आप एनएससी पे लेके आना चाहते हैं, तो आपका एटलीस्ट 3 इयर्स पॉजिटिव कैश फ्लो फॉर एटलीस्ट 2 फाइनेंशियल पॉजिटिव नेट वर्थ हो, आपकी नेट वर्थ नेगेटिव में नहीं होनी चाहिए। एनएससी के लिए रिक्वायरमेंट्स थोड़ी कम है, बट बीएससी के लिए रिक्वायरमेंट्स थोड़ी ज्यादा है। अदर लिस्टिंग कंडीशन क्या है, आपकी वेबसाइट होनी चाहिए, आपकी डीमैट ट्रेडिंग होनी चाहिए, सेबी की कुछ गाइडलाइंस भी हैं। अगर बेसिकली आप अगर आप किसी कंपनी से, अगर आप एसएमई पे आ रहे हैं, आप इन्वेस्टर से अपने अमाउंट चाहते हैं, तो ये तो आपके लिए 100% श्योरिटी होगी कि आप सारे कंप्लाइंस कंप्लीट करके चले। और उसमें सबसे ज्यादा कंप्लाइंसेस लगते हैं सेबी के। सेबी के कंप्लाइंसेस सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है ये मिनिमम डाइल्यूशन, यानी कि 26.25 पोस्ट इशू कैपिटल, यानी कि अगर आप अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं तो 25% आपका पब्लिक इन्वेस्टमेंट है, एंड आपकी 5% जो शेयर होगी वो मार्केट मेकर करेगा। मार्केट मेकर सिंपली एक पर्सन होता है जो आपकी फंड्स के लिए, आपकी जो फंड्स में फ्लक्चुएशन हो रहा है उसको मैनेज करता है। बेसिकली क्या हुआ, अगर आपकी किसी कंपनी ने आपकी इन्वेस्टमेंट करी और वो अभी फ्लक्चुएट हो रही है, कभी उसके प्राइसेस आपके एसएमई पे लिस्ट हुए, बट फ्लक्चुएशन आ रही है कि आपके अलॉटमेंट्स इतने आ रहे हैं और आपकी फंडिंग कम हो रही है, या आपको इतने टाइम तक अलॉटमेंट्स करने थे, तो मार्केट मेकर उन सब चीजों को अरेंज करता है। और आपकी अगर पब्लिक ने 100% अगर आपको लेना है, या आपको 80% आपको पब्लिक फंडिंग चाहिए और उसमें फ्लक्चुएशन आ रहा है, तो उसमें मार्केट मेकर बहुत हेल्प करता है। मिनिमम सब्सक्राइबर रिक्वायर्ड 50 अलॉटेड। अगर आप कोई एसएमई पे अपना पब्लिक ऑफर लेकर आ रहे हैं, तो 50 अलॉटीज होने चाहिए, यानी कि 50 अलॉटीज, यानी कि जो इन्वेस्टर्स हैं, जो कंपनीज हैं, या जो भी बड़े इन्वेस्टर्स हैं, जो भी अपना मार्केट में इंटेक लगाना चाहते हैं, वो मिनिमम 50 होने चाहिए। मिनिमम 50 अलॉटीज मस्ट टू बी इम्पोर्टेंट, मस्ट टू बी रिक्वायर्ड फॉर कंप्लीट द एसएमई। बेसिकली अगर आप कोई इन्वेस्टर है, आप एसएमई लेकर आते हैं और कोई कंपनी अपना इन्वेस्ट करना चाहती है, अब आप 20 करोड़ का एसएमई लेकर आए हैं, तो कोई 5 करोड़ का कंपनी लेके आ रही है, तो कोई 2 करोड़ का, इस तरीके से आपका कंप्लीट होना चाहिए जिसमें 50 अलॉटीज हो। अंडर राइटिंग 100% इशू शुड बी अंडर रिटन। ट्रेडिंग लॉट, मिनिमम ट्रेडिंग लॉट ऑफ ₹1,00,000, यानी कि अगर आप कोई भी इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं कंपनी में, या पब्लिक फंडिंग कंपनी जो लेके आई है उसमें अगर आप इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं, तो कम से कम मिनिमम ₹1,00,000 आपको लॉट में लगानी पड़ेंगे। आप इससे कम में इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं कर सकते किसी भी कंपनी के एसएमई में। और मार्केट मेकर आपके 3 इयर्स तक प्रोवाइड करेगा स्टेबिलिटी टू द स्टॉक प्राइस। जो भी स्टॉक प्राइस पे फ्लक्चुएशन होगा, मार्केट मेकर उसको कंपल्सरी है कि स्टेबिलिटी करेगा। मार्केट मेकर स्टॉक ब्रोकर्स होते हैं जो रजिस्टर्ड होते हैं विद द एसएमई एक्सचेंज पे। माइग्रेशन टू मेन बोर्ड आफ्टर 2 इयर्स से आप एसएमई पर रजिस्टर्ड हैं, अब आपको इससे मेन बोर्ड पे रजिस्टर्ड होना है। बीएससी एनएससी पर आप एसएमई से अपना पब्लिक ऑफर लेकर आए, उसके बाद अगर आप मेन बोर्ड पे रजिस्टर्ड होना चाहते हैं, माइग्रेशन करना चाहते हैं, तो आपको 2 इयर्स के बाद करना। ट्रेडिंग टाइम सेम एज मेन बोर्ड रहेगा, यानी कि जैसे कि अगर आपकी ट्रेडिंग टाइमिंग, अगर जो मेन बोर्ड की ट्रेडिंग टाइमिंग है वही आपके एसएमई की ट्रेडिंग टाइमिंग रहेगी। पब्लिक इशू थ्रू SME exchange shall list the specified securities, यानी कि अगर हम पब्लिक इशू पे कोई भी अपनी स्पेसिफाइड सिक्योरिटीज को लिस्ट कराना चाहते हैं तो वो सेबी ICDR रेगुलेशंस के अकॉर्डिंग होनी चाहिए। जो सेबी ICDR रेगुलेशंस ने लिखी हुई हैं उन्हीं स्पेसिफाइड सिक्योरिटीज को ही हम SME exchange पे लिस्ट करा सकते हैं। हम जो भी SME exchange पर अपनी सिक्योरिटीज लिस्ट कराएंगे उसके लिए सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है कि हम ड्राफ्ट ऑफर डॉक्यूमेंट बनाएं। ड्राफ्ट ऑफर डॉक्यूमेंट में हम मेंटेन करेंगे कि कंपनी कितने का SME लेकर आ रही है, कंपनी का प्राइसिंग क्या है, कंपनी कितने की फेस वैल्यू लेकर आ रही है, कंपनी के अदर इंफॉर्मेशन है जो कि पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन होती हैं, हम उन सब चीजों को ड्राफ्ट ऑफर डॉक्यूमेंट में मेंशन करेंगे कि
Ma'am,
कंपनी
there's a request from everyone. They want to listen in English. And if you think there is something which majorly needs to be explained, वही आप हिंदी में डाल देना. I think majorly wants to listen in English only. So I think we can continue in that only.
okay, we should
So sorry.
okay,
Thank you.
no issue. So the company is draft of a document should to be issued, which is mentioned that the company is taken a SME exchange. In the draft of a document, the company is mentioned about the company's growth, company's major document, which are to be the public documents. Company mentioned the all details in the offer document and how much the price company taken in their offer document and their funding. The company is mentioned in this. And the offer document should be according to the SEBI. And we should file that our draft of a document to the stock exchange. SEBI shall not issue any observation on the offer document. When we issue the offer document according to the SEBI regulations, and we mentions all the details about that, the how much the company funding, how much the company's investment, and how what is the year of growth and of the company, and the all types of details. But if any kind of observation SEBI faced, if any kind of observation SEBI get, but SEBI shall not issue an observation on the offer document. SEBI not remark that offer document until and unless it complied all the laws. If it is against the laws, then SEBI can take an action. But if there is no any mistaken, then SEBI cannot given any observation in the offer document. Just please give me a 1 minute. I just want to drink a water. Just give me a 1 minute. I'm just so, what is the benefit if the company listing? We are very aware that if the company is getting their IPO, getting their IPO through the SME and raise the funding from the public and raise the funds from the investor, then there is a lots of benefits for listing to companies. Companies for expansions and long-term working capital. Capital of the company is to be expanded. It simply means that it to be increased. So company can work in long-term way because company have a lots of amount of capital. It is in a crore. So company can increase their expansion and can also work on long-term basis. It also reduces debt burden because company raises their fund from the public. So the reduced, because no one companies want to doing their business by taking a loan, by taking a debt. But in the SME, the company can reduces debt burden because the company's debt burden is reduced, improves credit rating and lowers financing cost. Company's credit rating is to be increased because the company, if their company's credit rating, Just suppose that the company is doing their work and company complied the all the compliances and also taking a IPO, and the many investors investing there in the company, and then SEBI giving the rates of that company. If the company gives these types of IPOs on a small medium enterprises exchange, then come SEBI giving their credit rating, and which is also increased and enhanced, and it lowers financing cost. The company's financing cost is to be reduced because they're getting the funds from their SMEs. So these are the benefits of the listing to companies. Impact on branding. We all know that if the company is getting IPO and on the SME board in the public, the company is getting well known. The brand value is to be visible. Many people knows the brand value because we know that if the company is getting their IPO, then their balance sheets and their director reports and the growth of the company is mentioning on the newspaper, is mentioning on the particular news channels who are informing the informations about the IPO. So these kinds of informations to be mentioned. So it increases the visibility of the brand value, and brand value is also to be increased. And companies boosting market efforts. Companies is visible for almost of the public value, and lots of the investors wants to investing their money. Lots of the stakeholder wants to invest their money into that company because their brand values to be visible and its brand values to be increased. Value creations for existing shareholders and encouragement for innovation. Existing shareholders are to be, their values is also to be increased because they already the existing shareholder of the company, and they are also doing these kinds of stakes in the company which are to be increase the company's value. And the most important point is that the raises company's profile with customers, suppliers, investors, financial institutions, and the media. When the company is getting their IPO, the companies become the big company. So if the company is visible on the many apps of the investment company, so lots of the people are aware about that company, so that this is a bigger company. When the company is well known, it's to be advertised for the public image, and most of the customers, most of the suppliers and investors want to invest in the company because we always aware that the customers always easily to buy these kinds of products and these kinds of and wants to invest in these kinds of company which are to be well known and which are to be the branding. And when the company is getting the SME in IPO, the company is getting visible because most of their companies document companies information is to be visible in the public domain. Incentive for employees as listed shares can be used as an effective HR tool. It is also beneficial for employees because we can easily give the incentives to the employees that their shares are to be listed on a stock exchange. So it is also to be important for employees also. How it be important for the funding? Companies' independent value is to be increased. Company's marketability is increased, and many of the ratios of the company, like profit exchange ratio, these kind of ratios are to be also to be increased. And the companies and the many investors, many investors also want to invest in the company. So these kinds of the benefits are to the company getting when the company shares are to be listed on a stock exchange. Other benefits like greater transparency and disclose leading to business and financial best practices. Transparency is very increased because lots of the informations of the company is to be visible on the company's websites and the company's stock exchange and the in the newspapers and in the news in the media. These kinds of information is to be published, so the company is getting transparent. Nothing is to be the hide. And company's growth is also increased, so that when the company's growth is to be increased, that the company can easily migrate to the main board. Taxation benefits to investors. When we always getting the securities listed, many of the persons who are registered in paying the tax, they getting the benefits of the taxation. In the long-term capital gain exempt from tax upon listing of shares, when the shares are to be listed, then there is the long-term capital gain is to be exempted. Cost of listing on SME platform lower than main board. The main benefit is that when we listed their shares on a SME platform, the cost of listing is to be smaller in compare of the main board. We can see that benefits of long-term capital gain tax. When the company is listed their shares and getting the SME, small medium enterprises exchange, there is also the long-term capital gains benefits. When the promoter holding 2% post-issue share capital and locked their shares for 3 years, then the tax on the long-term capital gain should be 10, shall be 10%. When they sell their shares, the LTCG is to be 10%. And if the promoter holding in excess of 20%, if the promoter holding in excess of 20% to be locked in for 1 year, then the long-term capital gain shall be 10% when the shares are to be sold. And those are who are not promoter, when they sell off their shares after listing and completion of statutory 1 year, then lock-in will not attract long-term capital gain tax. Existing shareholders not attract long-term capital gain tax. It also benefits for the wealth creation. It increases the liquidity of a company, and greater liquidity in the public market can lead to better valuation for shares. The most of the shares are to be listed. It also to be visible and get a good image in the public, so that the values of shares are also to be increased, because most of the investors want to invest in the company. So if the company is getting visible, then the valuation of shares of also to be increased. And it also enhance the wealth of the investors multifold. And as per the liquidity, if we see that in the SME, becoming a public company establishes a market for the company's shares. Companies establish a market shares and companies become a public company. And company on the public domain, the investors can easily invest the money and regulate their price on the SME to trade shares, and they can trading their shares. It also increases the liquidity of a company. In the long-term capital gain and in short-term capital gain, benefit is also provided. If the company is to be unlisted, then long-term capital gain is 20%. But if it is listed, then it is to be 10%. So this is the benefit of a listing of the shares, because the tax should be reduces half. On the unlisted, it is be a 20%, but when it is to be listed, it is be a 10%. In the short-term capital gain, in the unlisted, it is to be 30%, and in the case of listed, it is 15%. So this is a very huge benefit of a listing of the shares on the public domain. Regulatory bodies and intermediaries. They are the very important persons who completed the listing process. First is to be the merchant bank. The merchant banker who getting all the valuations of the company, who get the valuations of shares, what is the market value of the shares in the public, and what is the pricing of the shares. The merchant banker doing these kinds of working. To complete the compliance of the IPO, it is also important that we involve these kinds of peoples, and first to be the merchant bank. who will do all the valuations of the shares and completing the IPO. Second is market maker. We already discussed about the market maker. The market maker is the person who completed the fluctuations of the share price. When the shares are doing the trading, the shares price are to be very fluctuate. The market maker is maintain that price. The bankers, registrars, and legal advisors. We see that when we listed on a stock exchange, we are required a banker because the money is to be completed and raising the funds, and we are raising the funds from the banks. So these are the important part that the bankers are completed. There is to be the registrar and legal advisor. Legal advisors are helpful because there is a lots of legal regulations we need to comply and legal agreements. So the legal advisors complete all these kinds of compliances. We can see that auditors and company secretary. When we getting the shares are to be listed in the listed companies, there is to be a three auditors who regulate the company's balance sheets, company's taxations, and company's informations. In the company secretaries. And the company secretaries who become the compliance officers when the company is to be listed. These kinds of the persons who complete the SME-IPO. Aid agency, trading agency, and others. These kind of the agencies who become the bridge between the company and the investors, who provide the informations to the media, to the newspapers, and the other informations provide the company so that the investors can invest their money. Registrars of company. When we register the company, there is a lots of regulations and compliances that the company is important to comply. In this case, the registrars of company is helpful to complete all the compliances. Underwriter to the issue. The person is the underwriter to the issue when we raised their fund from the company, from the public, sorry. The underwriter is taking a step. If there is not complete the subscription money, then underwriter is taken off some amount of the commission, 5% commission or a 2.5% commission of the total investing, and complete the issue of the public offer. Who subscribe the some kinds of the shares to complete the IPO. Stock exchange and SEBI. Stock exchange and SEBI, all the regulations should be complied as according to the stock exchange and SEBI. And the compliances of the stock exchange SEBI when the shares are to be going to be listed on a stock exchange. The company is complied all the stock exchange information and also intimate to the stock exchange and SEBI regulations also. This is a very important part. Please, you can take a screenshot of this. Can you share your email ID and mobile number? The person who is the host of the meeting, who shared the email ID and mobile number.
Anam, I'm taking this slide.
Okay,
Then you
ma'am.
continue. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. You can
Hi everyone, I'm joining late. And I'm not able to on my camera, but I'm going to, this is a very important slide that we are having on our screen. Uh, you know, when we talk about any kind of IPO, whether it's a SME or in a main board, it can be any kind of, whether it's a equity or a preference one. These are the steps are very important. Whenever we see the history of failure of IPO, we have seen so many things the people are fall just to overriding these steps, or either they are going not able to processing this step on their time. When we talk about understanding, analyzing, and uh, structuring, when we talk about understanding and analyzing, when we talk about, let's say आज हम आप सबको IPO के बारे में बता रहे हैं, we are making you people understand what is IPO, and now most of the business owner understand what IPO means, right? There are so many IPO coming in the market, and we always hear the success story. uh might be, none of you who are hearing today us may be recalling the failure of any IPO in the history. But this first step is very important. Understanding, analyzing, and structuring. Structuring is something that you required for an IPO for coming up around 2 years. 2 years you need minimum to structuring your finances, structuring your compliances. I'm here going to share one story of a company with the name of Express. It's a very leading company and having a turnover around 600 crore a year. Now they have crossed 1,000 CR. We are planning their SME IPO in the year 2016. While preparing and understanding and structuring their IPO, we were able to find out the liability which is coming to payable to all the department is crossing 4 CRs. 4 crore. When we are seeing 4 crore, they was the promoter of those company was like, if we are able to pay 4 CR and we are just raising around 10 to 15 CR, doesn't make any logic to coming with the SME IPO. That these are the practical scenario teaches us the understanding is very, very much important. Which industry you are coming up and which kind of business you are running, that is very important. What kind of IPO we are coming up. Second, the understanding is pre-IPO. Pre-IPO is something which is making, we are getting a baby ready for a school learning. Similarly, the pre-IPO means you are readying your company to keep ready for compliances over SEBI regulations. The pre-IPO moreover concern about your company balance sheet, what kind of balance sheet and what kind of share valuation we are understanding for your company. Similarly, what kind of legal compliances? I remember here are one more company which is having all the checkpoint right, and the penalty which is coming under the ESI department. There are around 14 employee in Pan India, which is required to be paid around a penalty of around 8 lakhs and something, which make that company failure of preparation of their IPO. They need to, sometime the owner who are coming with their IPO, they think our company is best, nothing is left. But when we talk about pre-IPO, which is make what is left behind your company, which is even the owner is not knowing it, that structuring and understanding is equally important. Second, preparation. Preparation is something a due diligence. Every company require due diligence. The company need to prepare itself first. How the due diligence going to be happen? If your due diligence is not coming properly, which means you are not ready for that particular year for an IPO. You require a more time or a more, analyzing to complete your due diligence. Second, your business and legal. Legal is very important. Any organization where we are going to deal and where we are going to be make IPO successful or any part of success is required a legal compliance to be proper. If any of the promoter, ex-promoter and a current shareholder having any legal case pending, which is making the board and the shareholder stating that they were a defaulter in any of the scenario, that company IPO will going to fail that time. Sometime people said, ma'am, our GST case is pending. That is perfectly fine. But if you're convicted in any of the cases and you're still running that company, you are not eligible for the IPO. Your company is not eligible IPO. Either the person who is a promoter or the director and the shareholder, he need to remove from the company. That's why this due diligence in financial business and legal is very important. Whenever we go to a company for a due diligence, they are, having a more accuracy because this is the step where the company 80% has a mindset coming with the IPO. But that due diligence is making something which is like, the preparation of 80% is fall down. Then this step need to be very carefully to be done. Second is draft of documents and offer document. I want to share why a person the whom you're consulting should have a IPO knowledge. Reason behind it, when we speak about a drafting of a document, I remember a IPO which we handle in between, and we understood that we have took that IPO in between. Reason being, the offer document which is submitted to the SEBI and ROC was rejected due to grammatical and the language errors. And the sixth step is very important and exciting thing. You have spent the amount, you have prepared everything. Your the working of your IPO has been done. Now we are market for the issue. Now we are going to be now we are everywhere in the news. Whenever we see in the LinkedIn somebody is running the bell of NSC and BSC is the very last step, but that makes everybody on the social media going to read, Acha, this company has been listed. Same to you, marketing of your company well and marketing of your issue going to be start. You're going everywhere in the newspaper. You can see on the boardings of the, roads and everywhere. You're also going to be understand that this IPO is coming. The important is issue of IPO. Issue of IPO is something, not a critical thing. This is something when you have ready with the sixth step, the seventh step is already being ready with you, that pricing of issue. Pricing of issue is being started when your financial has been decided. But when you're coming with the offer and the issue, because the SEBI has the regulation that you need to underwrite your IPO every time, that underwriting safeguard of pricing will come easily and your issue will be successful and the listing come. The, pride of running that bell in front of the stock exchange, whether it's NSE or BSE, that is, make a relief, relaxation, thankful, gratitude to everyone who was there in the process of listing. And now you can carry on the next slide.
First, we can see the IPO timeline when the company is getting their IPO through the SME. Then there is to be the timeline which need to complete the compliances according to these timelines. First, that the first initiative is taken by the company is taken the board meeting to approval issue, because the director's approval is mandatory. So first is to be board meeting to approve the issue. The next step is research presentation. The company is present their research, how the company is getting their IPO, what is the market scenario, and how much the investor is investing their money, and how much the amount the company is getting there in the IPO. These kinds of the presentation is in the research presentation, which are to be mentioned by the company within the 10 to 45 days. On the 10th day, the company, after the board meeting, within the 10th day, the company is presenting their research presentation. After the 45 days, within the 45 days from the board meeting approval, the due diligence in drafting. Due diligence is simply means that all the compliances have to be complete by the company. These kinds of the due diligence and drafting are presented by the company. Within the 2 days after the due diligence and drafting, file the draft prospectus with the stock exchange. In the draft prospectus, company mention their share price, their face value, and the stock price, and how much the IPO the company is taken. Company is granted to raise the funds from the public. These kind of the draft prospectus, the company is to be sent to the stock exchange and intimate to the stock exchange about this. Within the 62 days from the date of the board meeting, the stock exchange is giving their observations, and if everything is fine and correct and complied all the laws, then company and then the stock exchange give their approval, the draft prospectus. And if there is any mistake, or if there any error or any other non-compliance, then the stock exchange give their observations and remarks on the draft prospectus. On the day of 67, if there is any observations from the stock exchange, we incorporate these comments in the draft prospectus and in red herring prospectus, or we can say that the prospectus. The all kinds of information about the company. There to be the share value, what is the price value, and how much the amount by the how much amount company raised from the public. On the red herring prospectus, or we can say that simple words is to be the prospectus of a company. That prospectus is filed to the SEBI and the stock exchange. on the 68th day from the date of the board meeting. On the 83rd day, receive stock exchange. If the stock exchange finds that there is a no any observation or any or any remark or any else thing, and the prospectus to be complied, then the prospectus is to be, then stock exchange go ahead their prospectus. This prospectus is also filed to the ROC, Registrar of Companies. First, we intimate to the stock exchange. When stock exchange says that the company's prospectus is ready, then it to be go ahead. After that, the prospectus is to be registered and filed submitted to the ROC. On the 94th day, marketing of the issue. The shares marketing of the issue. The share price are to be issue, and on the 95-day issues are to be open in the company. Then the investors and the persons and the public can invest their money from that day. On the 95th day from the day of the board meeting, the issues are to be open where the public and the investors can issue their price. On the 97th day, it means that within the 2 days, the issue are to be closed. The investors who want to invest their money, it is the days between the 2 days. When the investors and the public investing their money, after the 2 days, the issues to be closed. On the 101th day from the day of the board of the meeting, the shares are to be allotted to the shareholders, the investors, and the persons who investing their money in the issue open state. The shares are to be allotted. On the 104th day, we can say that obtaining listing and trading approval, we can take all the listing and trading approvals from the stock exchange because we shares allotted, and transfer funds from public issue account to company account or offered accounts. The funds pre-received from the public, we can transfer that amount to the company or the offerer who raised the fund. These are the timeline we can see on the slide, that it is not a single one day or to take an IPO. It takes a 1 year or maybe more, because we need to comply all the compliances and all the SEBI regulations. If we not complied anything properly, then the IPO will be failed, and it also wasted of the company's time, companies and directors and the other investors' money and amount also. So it is a very important step to taken by the company, that all the timelines should be completed according to the laws. We can see that if migration to the main board, if the company is taken IPO from the SME and now to migrate to the main board, there should be the post issue capital between rupees 10 crore to 25 crore. It is the voluntary migration. It means that company is not mandatory to migrate to the main board. It is to be the voluntarily. But if the post issue capital exceeds rupees 25 crore, then it is to be the mandatory migration to the company, that the company is to be shared listed there on the main board. On a market making for minimum 3 years from date of listing. There is to be the lock-in period also. Promoters holding up to 20% post-issue capital to be locked in for a period of 3 years. When we take in an IPO through SME, the promoters holding their post-issue capital up to 20%, and it can be locked for a period of 3 years. The promoter cannot sell their shares in between the 3 years. These shares are to be the locked in. No shares can be placed or can be mortgaged or any kind of the encumbrances. The shares are to be locked in for a 3 years. Entire pre-issue capital, including person other than promoter, to be locked in for a 1 year. The pre-issue capital and the persons who are not the promoters, the locked-in period is for 1 year. After the post-listing compliances, when the shares are to be listed and companies IPOs to be successful and the shares are to be the listed, then these are the compliances which are to be called post-listing compliances. On the stock exchange, half-yearly and annual results as per the accounting standards. The company's half-yearly, annual reports and annual results as per the accounting standard must to be completed and intimate to the stock exchange. Financial results unaudited within 45 and audited within 60 days. We can intimate to the stock exchange the company's financial results, the unaudited within 45 days, and when it is to be audited within 60 days. We must to be intimate to the stock exchange about this. Half yearly shareholding pattern within 45 days. What is the shareholding pattern of the company? We should half yearly mention this. What is the shareholding pattern and how much the shareholding scenario? We intimate to the stock exchange about this. And on the website, these are the informations which are to be mentioned to the stock exchange, and these are the information which are to be mentioned on the website of the company. These are we included the annual report of the company, company's balance sheet, company's profit and loss account. These are the public documents which are need to be mentioned on the website so that the investors and the public can easily see that that the company is good and wealthy company, and company transparency is also mentioned through these documents. So these kinds of the documents should be mentioned on the website. These are the annual report, balance sheet, and profit and loss account. Proceedings at AGM or EGM. What about when the companies get AGM, get EGM? These kinds of the information are also mentioned on the website so that their transparency of the companies to be visible to the public, and public can easily think about that how much amount to be invested in the company. Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In the marketing strategy, institutional marketing, the meetings in the institutional marketing, managing senior level meeting with QIBs, mutual funds, private equity fund, reputed broking houses, NBFCs and MNCs bank. The company is getting the meetings through this. Meeting with high net worth individuals. These are the marketing strategies. So that these are the high investors who investing their money through these public offers. Meeting with the high net worth individuals. These are the net worth individuals who can investing their money on a big amount. Meeting investors, community influencers. These persons who can, these kinds of the communities and these kind of the influencers who influence the investors to investing their money into the company. These are the strategies which can be company adopt to getting the fund from the company. Managing media interactions. If the company is getting the interaction through media, it is easily visible to the public, and public easily understand that the company is a good and a wealthy company, and the investors investing their money through this. So these kind of the strategies companies should adopt before taking the step into the SME-IPO. Retail marketing, meeting brokers and sub-brokers. Company is getting a meeting through the brokers and sub-brokers, meeting groups of retail investors, Who are the retail investors? Companies getting meetings and inform about their IPOs and their presentations and their research and their kinds of the details, so that these kind of retail investors also invest their money through the group. Arranging coverage in local media, try to cover their information through local media. Managing word of mouth. Post DRCF activities, preparing investors presentation, how to investors investing their money. These kinds of the preparations are to be mentioned and informed to the investors. Preparing handy documents, assisting in preparing the contents to be distributed on social media. Also, in the scenario of the social media, we can also use that the social media platform, so that the company is the investors and the investors and the stakeholders easily understand that how much the amount to be invested. Assistance in preparation of the script of TV advertisement, investor video, and these kinds of the strategies companies also apply through the providing the advertisements. Post RCP activities, arranging print and electronic media meet, arranging broker analyst investor meet. After their red herring practice activities, company print and their documents and electronic media. Company arranging the meetings for brokers and analysts, schedule one-to-one promoter meetings. These kinds of the informations company provide after their completing of their prospectus. So we easily understand that how the company is getting their IPO, what is the benefit, and how much the timeline, and why the company is failing in their IPO, and what is the prospectus of a company, and how much the timeline of a company. These kinds of information we learned and we understood. So, Suman ma'am, are you audible? You
Yeah,
continue,
yeah, I'm there only. I'm
ma'am.
there
Please
only.
continue the
Okay,
video.
it's over to the host, and we are ready for the question if somebody has it.
I'm really glad and grateful to Sumanji. Ma'am has agreed to join us, though she was not feeling well today. So I request all the participants, like I had mentioned earlier, that if there are any question answers, we'll be answering later. But I think Suman ma'am is there. If you want, you can ask really informative and important questions right now from ma'am. So you can raise
Sonia,
your
there's a
hand.
one question.
Yes,
There's a one question in the chat I can see. What are the compliances after the IPO? Yes, sir. Sir, the answer of this question is कि you need to have a full-time company secretary with a listed company. All the compliances which are required to be done, she and he will going to take care of it. But for taking care of its few of the compliances that you know are going to be note here is SEBI and stock exchange. Every quarter the company need to come up with the unaudited financials which is need to be published. Whenever you are going to have a board meeting where you are going to be agree on the unaudited financial, before that your company is going to be stop the trading. That stop the trading need to be informed to the stock exchange and the SEBI. This is one compliance. Holding a board meeting in giving the information to stock exchange and the SEBI is another compliance. And later on, once the board meeting is done, the outcome of the board meeting need to be done within 15 minutes and the 2 hour to inform the stock exchange and SEBI. And these are the timeline to just to hold a board meeting, which is mandatory for every company to have it. Second important, whenever we talk about a listed company, it's going to be have a online, it's going to be have electronically more of voting right. You know, whenever you are going to have your AGM and the EGM which you the company need to be conduct, the clear cut of 21 days of notice need to be given, and you have to have secretarial scrutinizer to be appointed to have a compliances. In short, if I talk about the compliances, it's going to be a bunch of compliances with the listed company. Sonia, we can have other question if somebody is asking.
Yeah, I think Mr. Rohit Narayan Swami would like to ask the question. Can you please unmute him?
I do not have right to unmute him.
No, the IT department will do it.
Okay, okay.
Can you unmute Karthik? Rohit ji, please. Karthik, are you there? Can you unmute him?
Yes, ma'am.
Please ask your question, Mr. Rohit. Is there anybody else who would like to ask any question? Please raise your hand. Kalpesh ji, please ask your question. Kindly unmute him, please. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Hello.
Kalpesh ji.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon,
Ma'am,
sir.
a SME having 1 year old can go
Huh?
for a plan for an SME-IPO?
Yeah. Yes, 100% you can plan it. The first thing that you need to keep in your mind is a profit-making company. The loss-making company could not have that mindset. They require another 3 years. The condition for IPO in the presentation, you have seen the distribution of profit. That only possible when you have a profit-making company. A
Okay.
startup which has a mindset of a profit-making, then yes, plan for a IPO.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, are you doing a personal consultations for SME-IPO?
Yes, we do it. You need to connect with Sonia, then we can have a meeting joint.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. So, ma'am, can you share the number of Mr. Sonia ji?
Sonia, please take care of it.
We have pinned our address and number, UDYAMITA Helpline. We'll get in touch with you. Don't worry.
Okay, ma'am.
Karthik has shared over a chat, so you can take it up.
Okay.
Yeah. Sonia, there's another question I have asked by Mr. Madan Agarwal. For a
Yes,
small
ma'am.
company with IPO of 10 to 20 CR is suitable to do such compliances? So when you talk about IPO now, yes, compliance need to be take care of 10 to 20 CR. In the SME, what I have personally experienced, people are not here for 10 to 20 CR. They are for a bigger picture. Just getting into a 10 and 20 CR, they are going to have a big IPOs to be planned. Another 50 CR, 60 CR, which public is ready to provide your company. And yes, compliances need to be take care. And if you talk about the cost for those compliances now, so the fresher company secretary and today time you will have around a package of 8 to 10 lakhs. This is the only cost you will have the compliances. Otherwise, I don't. If I think you have a professional who is spending for the compliance of 10 or 15 lakh and having a such IPO and which is increasing in the size. आज आप एक IPO लेकर आए हैं 10 रुपए का with the valuation of 20 CR. In the future, the value is increasing. The capitalized value of your company is increasing. And compliances, yes, without compliances, SEBI has a bigger penalty provision for the same.
Yes, Rohit ji, please ask. Leela ji, please ask. Unmute Leela ji, please.
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, please, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you for the presentation. I have a 1% private limited company. So is it possible to make it a SME IPO?
Ma'am, thank you for asking this question. This is a multiple question I face. Private limited company could not go for an IPO. You need to convert your company into the public, and then you're only going to be eligible for IPO. What is public company? Public company की एक simple definition, if I'm going to speak about it, is you need a minimum 3 director and 7 member in the company. Then only you can go for an IPO. You can plan for IPO. A company which is into private in the nature, a company into LLP in the nature, proprietor partnership are not eligible for SME IPO.
So they should have 3 director. So we have to register. While register itself, we have to make a public limited company. Then only we can able to.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in your case, is going to be conversion of one-person company to a public company. It's an easy process which can be take care.
Okay. So due diligence process. What are the due diligence? GST, TDS, and
Ma'am, due to what your business, what kind of business your company are into?
it's a software development company, software development service.
Software development company.
Yeah.
For a software development company, you need to have your IT compliances needs to be done. I don't know what kind of software you're into, but yes, if you're having an app and you're developing a third-party software, those
Yes.
compliances and agreement need to be done.
Okay.
Second important, if your company having an employee more than 20, then ESI and PF need to be attract, that need to be done.
Okay.
Third important compliances which people used to miss out, POSH compliances. Now the POSH is something that Sonia just arranged a separate session for that. POSH is something that people are missing it out. And coming this time, that compliance needs to be done. Compliance, what kind of compliance is there? You need to submit a report to a sub-registrar or a registrar, district magistrate of your area that there is no pending case under the POSH also. That compliance also need to be done. These are the compliances which people used to miss out. Fourth important is yes, income tax, your ITRs, TDS, everything need to be done properly, and they are not going to be having any penalty or any demand and something is there, because if there is a demand under any GST and the income tax, that need to be submitted before going IPO. So what your due
one more
diligence say,
question.
due diligence is something going to be, briefing of your company and correcting out of your documents. I'm going to give an example of one of the company. The company is having a fixed asset in their balance sheet with the name of the director. While evaluating the value of the balance sheet, the fixed asset need to be deleted.
Okay.
Because that is owned by the company and rented by the rented and utilized by the company. Only the rental income and other thing will to be added, not going to be a fixed asset thing to be added. So many things need to be required for a due diligence.
Okay. One more question.
Yeah,
How
please.
long process take to convert into the 1% private limited to public limited company, and that public limited company to list into the IPO? How long we have to wait for 3 years period again?
Ma'am, it's very simple. If site is working, system is properly, take 15 to 20 days.
Once I converted my company is a public limited company, then how long will it take to list it into the IPO? Because IPO generally 2 years.
Ma'am, it depends upon your today company's revenue.
Okay.
We are going to be project your next 5 years. How, we are going to, 20 CR taking from a market. What you are going to do with the 20 CR? It is going to be projected in provisional balance sheet of projection of coming 5 years. For example, I'm just giving an example. For example, your company having a turnover of 10 CR as on date and having a profit of 50 lakhs. Right?
Okay.
Now, what we are going to be analyze in coming 2 years, how your profit is going to be double, 51 CR, 2 CR, because your profit going to make you eligible for the amount of IPO,
Okay.
valuation of your share. If you are making 1 CR of a profit, you are eligible for 10 CR of a IPO.
Okay.
Respective other figures also. So these are some calculation required at the time of consultation of pre-IPO. When we talk about the second, the pre-IPO is going to be all combination of your IPO. And then, for example, this year you're not able to make 1 CR or you're not eligible for IPO. We are going to prepare for another 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year. Then we can come up with the IPO.
Okay. So if I form a new company with a public limited company, so this year I am going, let us say, for example, I am going to form a new company public limited this year. So I have to wait in period 3 years to become IPO, or what's the procedure?
Ma'am, IPO cannot become when the company is not having any financials until and unless you have a subsidiary of a big company.
So I have to wait 3 years for at least.
Yeah.
That discussion.
Leela ji, this discussion need to have a separate one,
Okay,
because the
thank you.
ideal discussion will come when you share your balance sheet. Then we are going to be guide you better. No new company required to be formed. This company can be go for the IPO, but yes, your current balance sheet required to be, understanding the same.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
If
Thanks,
you
sir.
want, you can just put it in the chat and we'll get you connected with ma'am.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Rohit ji, Madhav ji. Madhav ji, please ask your question. Can you unmute, Madhav ji?
Thank you. You mentioned T1 plus 107 from the date of the first board meeting till the final utilization of funds, if I recall correctly. This includes preparation and whatever else you have mentioned in your slideshow. Realistically speaking, I would imagine a lot of homework would have to be done prior to that. I seem to recall you mentioned about close to a year of effort going into it, but I'm not sure whether I heard you correctly. Kindly clarify, because a T plus 107, it looks very idealistic, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of homework to be done prior to that. So what do you think realistically could be the timelines for this?
So practically, if I speak now, a very practical scenario, theoretical is one, practical is one. When we talk about practical, a successful IPO required a minimum 3 years. For example, as Mr. Leela ji asked, today she might be have a 1 lakh of a profit. But if she want to come with the IPO, we require minimum 2 plus 1. 2 year we required a preparation, then how she can manage the balance sheet and other thing, and then preparation come, and finalization of merchant banker. The important role in IPO is merchant bank. When you finalize the thing with the merchant banker, underwriter came in, and many other things. And it's required a costing also. It is not a we are spending, we are taking 2 CR and we are easily getting. It's going to be a good spend on that as well. So IPO is a very big mindset if somebody is coming up, and it's required 2 year, 3 years of planning. There's a three IPOs coming. This particular 2 months due to election, the IPO was hold few by the companies, but I think in the till of December you will find around 360 or 366 IPO in SME segment are coming up. And those out of 360, we are planning for two IPOs, and still we are figuring out that they are able to do in this year. We need to wait for another year. So this is a big planning need to be done. Yes, the timeline which we have shared, that is when we are ready for IPO. IPO is ready for coming in the market, and how we are going to, what are the timeline to be done when we are ready. But before that is, I believe, 2 years minimum requirement to come up with any SME or main board IPO.
Thank you very much.
Who's next to ask?
Yes, Mr. Nikhil, you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Nikhil.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, I want to know what is the lock-in period of SME-IPO who subscribe in pre-IPO listing. Pre-IPO means
Lock-in period for whom?
who already subscribe in pre-IPO,
Mm-hmm.
and after listing,
You
what
are a
is the
shareholder or a promoter?
shareholder?
हाँ, तो
Or
shareholder के लिए there is no lock-in period. Only the lock-in period will
after
be
listing, what is the lock-in period? Around,
no
I think
lock-in period.
1 year, 6 months.
No. For an individual
Suppose
shareholder, there is no lock-in period for an individual shareholder until unless there's some barring has been raised by the company stock exchange.
नहीं सपोज किसी कंपनी ने रेज किया है एडिशनल इक्विटी, राइट? SME IPO, before SME IPO, then he listed in SME
Before
IPO.
SME IPO, you mean to say that other than IPO?
Yes, other than IPO means new addition before listing of SME IPO on board.
Which means
On
you're
SM
talking about private placement.
Yes, private placement. Yeah,
Private placement, Nikhil, private placement is only deal by the shareholder agreement. If the shareholder agreement has stated that the lock-in period of 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, then then in that case the lock-in period going to be applicable. That is out of the discussion that we are having today. That is against the investment you are taking through private placement or right issue, other than a public company, and that is governed by the shareholder agreement.
Okay. And second question is that if I want to apply before pre-IPO in SME segment, so how can I apply? Means
The
suppose
pre-IPO is nothing. Pre-IPO is a, today's scenario, pre-IPO is something, you're ready for a IPO, and few of the investor who's going to invest in your IPO is going to pre-funded you. So can the the IPO expenditure can be taken care of from that pre-IPO. And the pre-IPO has very much condition. That is not, the pre-IPO is not having a listing one. Pre-IPO is something, a fund which you might be need. For example, SME IPO coming, you are coming with the SME IPO 10 CR. The expenditure that you're going to incur is 1 CR. Now you're not having 1 CR to spend for an IPO. Then you go for pre-IPO. The investor who are into the IPO, going to invest in the IPO, we are going to fund you for 1 CR. So you can come up with the
नहीं,
IPO. That is altogether
एक्चुअली
different understanding.
मेरे को ये पूछना था, सपोज कि कोई या कोई वेबसाइट या ऐसा कोई हम मालूम कर सकते हैं क्या कि नियर जैसे तो 1-2 महीने या 5-6 मंथ में कोई एसएमई कंपनी आईपीओ लेके आ रही हो, वो प्री आईपीओ में आपको शेयर इशू कर रही है,
सर
तो
प्री
ऐसा कोई
आईपीओ में कैसे शेयर इशू कर
प्री
सकती है?
आईपीओ मतलब एडिशनल इक्विटी जो इशू करते हैं ना,
That's
सपोज कोई कंपनी 2 करोड़ 3 करोड़ या 1 करोड़ 5 करोड़ इशू करती है बिफोर आईपीओ
sir,
की, जो आईपीओ
Nikhil
के
ji,
खर्चे
Nikhil ji, we are going to connect our call for this because other people are going to confuse it because this is different the discussion you're having. Pre-IPO is nothing. Pre-IPO is something the people are funding you, right?
ओके
And that funding जो funding का हमारा रास्ता है, shareholder agreement बनता है, that is governed by that. That is not governed by the registrar of company, SEBI, stock exchange or any other law.
अच्छा
That is only governed by
Nikhil ji, our
the
team will connect
investor
with
and the
you and
company.
we'll get you connected.
Yeah, that is
I
altogether different
I
discussion.
got your number actually. I'll connect you for my
हाँ,
query.
please, the number is shared
Don't
by
worry, Nikhil ji,
Karthik.
we'll get in touch.
हाँ,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
Nikhil ji, our team will get connect with you and we'll get you connected. Okay, don't worry.
Mr. Kalpesh Patel want to ask something, I believe.
Ma'am, hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Can I audible?
Yes, sir, you
Yes,
are
yes,
audible.
don't worry.
Okay. Okay. Suppose any startup is planning to apply for a 3 years this tax exemption. Okay.
Okay.
Then that startup can go for SME IPO if the exemption after the exemption has been approved by the government.
Sir, आपका जो question है ना, sorry to say that question has totally have a different ideology, but I'm going to answer this. So many people has this question. Startup registration and the startup benefit having a no relationship with the IPO, first of all.
Okay. Okay.
Second, why startup go for startup registration? Because what the startup do, either they're going to take funding from the investor or they're going to IPO because they do not want to spend their own money. Agree? Now, if they are going to take the money, because in this startup, I'm day zero, I'm standing on day zero, I'm not having any capitalized value, I'm having a share value of 10 rupees. Now, I'm going to evaluate our company after 3 years of 200 CR. My share value is going to be 5,000. Now I'm a starter, I'm not having a money to start a business. Now I'm going to pay the tax. If you are registered with this startup, you're exempt for those taxation on the extra value taken by you on the share. Right. Whether you are going for IPO, that exemption are going to be there also. Whether you're not going to for IPO, the exemption is going to be there also because the startup benefit are given to the company who are less than 10-year-old. Now they can take whatever the benefit coming under the startup India.
But after it means what I understand that SME IPO cannot obstruct my startup benefits. Those who are government have already approved.
Sir, बहुत practically मैं आपको बताऊं, if you're able to understand, there's a lock-in on the promoter of 3 years. What you're going to have the benefit of 3 years of taxation.
Okay.
There's no benefit because you have a lock-in of 3 years. Now you can't sell the amount. Now there's no capital gain. How you're going to save it, right? Practically, there has no relationship with the IPO. That's why I'm saying no, the question is irrelevant for today's presentation.
Okay.
The question you asked, that is a different identification. That not having any relationship with the IPO.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. Can we have Madhavji? Mr. Prafulji, ask your question.
हेलो
Yes, yes, please ask your question.
या हमारी एलएलपी कंपनी है अभी रनिंग बिजनेस चालू है तो कहाँ तक अपना बैलेंस शीट पहुंच जाए उसके बाद प्लानिंग करना चाहिए कि अभी से प्लान करना बेटर रहेगा अभी
अभी
जस्ट स्टार्ट
टेंटेटिव
किया
क्या अपनी क्या टर्नओवर होगी सर?
अभी टर्नओवर 20 करोड़ के आसपास हो गई
20 CR के आसपास। सर प्रॉफिट कितना रखते हैं सर?
प्रॉफिट अभी पहला ये ईयर था, हाफ ईयर बिजनेस किया है, 20 lakhs के करीब प्रॉफिट है।
20 lakhs के करीबन आप रख रहे हैं, which is somewhere around 1%.
या ऑफ कोर्स
राइट। हाँ तो सर कम से कम 10% रखना पड़ेगा. The ratio between the profit and the turnover should have 10%. Then you are eligible for a good number of IPO. You can go for 20 years, 20 CR and 25 CR of an IPO.
Okay, got it.
Mhm.
Thank
But
you, ma'am.
in short, what we say, the company is having a 1 crore of our profit now. They are good to go with the IPO.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Who's next? Madhavji, please ask. Kindly unmute him, please.
Ma'am, I've already asked my question. Thank you very much.
Okay, no issue. Amolji, please ask your question. Unmute him, please. Please unmute. Yes,
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Shah,
Shah.
please ask.
Hi. Well,
Yes.
thanks for having me here. A couple of questions that I had. A step-by-step
Yes, please.
initiation for the IPO. You've already given me the contact number, so that's okay.
Yeah.
My question would be primarily like we are a 10-year-old company. Okay. I basically head the accounts for this company since the past 10 years. Now, starting
Okay.
the preparation 6 months in advance would be a good time, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Second question is we are a company who has a turnover of less than 50 CR as of now. I
Mm-hmm.
understood partially from the previous questions asked by my fellow colleagues over here
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
a decent profit, at least a 10% profit. Now, would that be a
Mm-hmm.
gross or a PAT, like EBITDA or PAT?
Right.
That is the next question that I have. And since we are
Mm-hmm.
purely a service-based industry, okay, we are
Okay.
basically getting to the AVGC sector, which is ITES,
Okay.
right? So
Right.
in that scenario, like the assets and everything, obviously, how will we take it forward? And we are definitely keen on getting into the IPO in the coming financial year.
What is your EBITDA for the year?
EBITDA for the previous year unaudited figures would be somewhere around 13%.
13%. 13% is good. Why we talk about EBITDA and PAT, whatever your EBITDA and the PAT is going to into by 5 times, because we
Okay.
are going to project it for the 5 years. There's the maximum IPO you can coming out.
Hmm.
When we talk about 1 CR of a profit and we are going to be take how much your profit, at least 10 CR of IPO can be coming up. Because just understand that the company who's doing a business of 100 CR and having a EBITDA only 5%, 3%, 4%, who's going to invest in that
Mm-hmm.
company? Nobody, right? Similarly, what
Right.
we identify that whatever your EBITDA, we are going to into by 5, and whatever the amount is done, we are only eligible for that much of an amount. This 2 CR, 3 CR, 4 CR doesn't mean that the investor, you can have investor then, rather than to go
Mm-hmm.
for IPO, because there is so many amount and the compliances are going to be tracked.
Correct.
Then it totally depends whatever turnover and the EBITDA is coming. That's why the financial structuring is very important.
Correct. Right. You had answered one of the queries earlier, and I actually missed
I think
out,
I missed your another question.
like conversion to public.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yes, please
So,
continue.
yeah. So, we'll have to, since we are also a private limited company as of now
Mm-hmm.
with only a couple of directors. You had said
Mm-hmm.
minimum 3 directors and seven. Sorry, what was the third one?
Yeah, seven members in the company.
7 member on the board, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right. That's
You
what
know, when
I
we
missed.
this is not a big thing. The people who are listening,
Hmm.
conversion of a public company, 90% or 95% of companies going for an IPO, they must need to convert from private to public. This is one of the step in the process, and that is not a big challenge because the public offers only can be taken care by a public company. A private company cannot come with the public offer. They need to have only private placements. Right. For that reason, every company who's coming with the IPO need to be converted. That's not a big thing. Plus, you need to have independent director in the board. Then you're going to have a CFO, MD, and the CS in the board before going to listing. So board restructuring is very important, and that
Hmm.
need to be done before IPO. That is happening with every company who's coming with the IPO. That is one of the steps which is not, a bigger thing to, worry about.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Sumanji. Really helps, and I'll connect with you offline, and we'll take it
Sure,
forward
sure,
from there.
sure, sure.
Thank you so much. I'll just
I
mute
want to
myself.
share one thing here also. I had a long time back, I have a session of IPO here only, and somebody has connected through Sonia to me, and we are not come up with the IPO with them, but I think they have a good funding of from that presentation. They understood key they are not ready for IPO, but they are ready for funding. Then pitch decks,
Hmm.
another thing has been done for them, and they have a good funding now. Might be in coming 2 years they are ready for IPO. That's also happening with so many people. They have a good profit and running business from family business. He was having a family business. And that's
Understood.
also happening. If you're coming for 5 CR, the investor are ready for giving if your good company is good.
Cool. Understood. Well,
Thank you.
thanks a lot, Sumanji. I'll just mute myself.
Yeah, thank you.
Amolji, would you like to ask? Amolji, Manojji, please ask your
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, thanks. So my question is, if the current financial year has a PAT of 10 crores and the previous two financial year when the company was ramping up, they did not have any good PAT, are they eligible for the financial year based on the current? Can they go IPO say in 25,
The
26?
last, last 3 years, the profit should be in distribution mode. The company should have a good profit to distribute one. Yes, if the company out of 3 years, 2 years not having a good profit, that can be managed. But before the IPO, the good profit can be there.
Yeah, so March 2025, the PAT will be 10 crores and EBITDA is about 30 plus.
Yes.
And then the process
Then
of
you're
start,
eligible. Yes, you
the
you
process
can
of
go for
IPO
an
can
IPO.
start after
Yes,
April 2025.
yes.
And the pipeline for the next 3 years is also very good, like with the
Yeah, projection need to be drafted.
annual growth of 100% year on
Yes.
year.
Yeah. Projection
All
need
right.
to be drafted.
Yeah, thank you.
Is anybody else? Anybody else interested in asking a question?
So, just take last question. Huh?
Yeah, sure. Manlikji, please ask. And I would request everyone, this is going to be the last question today because ma'am is not well already. So you can just put your questions in chat and who's really interested in getting in touch, we'll get you connected with ma'am. Please unmute him, Manlikji. Can we have a quick question from him?
Ma'am, I think all done.
Okay, I think we are done for the day today then. Yeah. So I would like to thank you, Sumanji, for your valuable learning experience you have provided us today, and your expertise and insights you have shared were truly valuable. We are not only grateful to you that you took the time, even though you were not well, to come up, show up, and clear so many queries and shared your expertise with them. I would like to thank on behalf of my entire team to Anamji also, who kept holding on the session until you join us later on. And thank you to each one of you. Each of the participants is valuable to us who's come and attended the seminar. And at UDYAMITA, we always try hard to make each process simple and educative so that, whatever goals we have becomes easier and achievable, but with the resources available and proper channel. So we have our experts here, whosoever is interested and want to make the journey more flexible and easy with us, we'll get you in touch with our experts here. And please do let us know how did you find the webinar today, and if there are further questions, let us know. We can get in touch together and let your problems be solved. And what all topics do you want, which all experts advice you require, do let us know that, so we'll keep working and making it more smooth. Thank you, Sumanji, and your team. Thank you so much. Thank you on
Thank you
behalf
so
of
much. Thank you so much. It's a great interacting with you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, each one of you. Thank you so much. You've been really it's been our pleasure that we are making people comfortable and they are moving towards their goals. This is what our motive is at UDYAMITA. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us.